Hello and welcome to the MyHeritage webinar series. I'm Jeff Rasmussen, your host. I'm broadcasting to you live from Middleton, Idaho. Today we have MyHeritage's Uri Gonen with us, who is live in Toronto, Ontario, to help us learn about the different ways to view your tree at MyHeritage. Thank you to the more than 1,200 of you from 24 countries who have registered for the live webinar. Wherever and whenever you are, glad to have you with us. Uri Gonen has been working at MyHeritage since 2005, where he took on different challenges and roles in product development and product management. He has been part of the wild journey of MyHeritage from a small startup to a dominant company in the genealogy space. Among his involvement in key projects of the company, Uri was the original developer behind Family Tree Builder and the product manager of MyHeritage's genealogy search engine. More recently, he is involved in several genealogical projects such as PedigreeMap, Pedigree View, Tree Consistency Checker, and several integrations with Family Search. Before joining MyHeritage, Uri has worked in other software startups in Israel, the United States, and Canada. He now lives and works in Toronto. Please put together your virtual hands and let's give Uri Gonen a nice warm webinar welcome. Hi, Uri, and welcome to the webinar.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Jeff, for the introduction.
Yeah, it's good to have you here, and we're looking forward to the topic. And it looks good, Uri, so the time's all yours.
Okay, hi, everyone. As Jeff said, my name is Uri Gonen, Israeli name, originally from Israel, and now living in Canada. And I'm going to talk about different ways to view, in fact, also to edit and perfect and augment your family tree on MyHeritage. So let's start. Let's go down. Okay, so when you go to MyHeritage, there is a menu called Family Tree, and we're going to talk a lot about things that are available there. This is the main section in the site where you work on your family tree. So when you open this menu, you'll see the My Family Tree option, which is the main one that we're going to talk about, and a few others that you see here. In fact, if you click on the More link here, you'll see that there's a few more options, and we'll talk about some of those that are there as well. So let's dive in. So if you go to My Family Tree, you'll get to the family tree, and it has several views, and we're going to talk a little bit about those different views, what's the difference between them, and what is the advantage of each one of those views. So when you go to your family tree, by default, it goes to the first view, and you see here on the top right, we're now in a view called Family View. There are 4 views that are available. This is the main one. In the family view, we basically see your family tree where a certain person is the main person, and in this case it's Ethan, who is my son. And you can see that he appears here as the main person. At the bottom, above, you'll see parents, uncles, aunts, that's the level above them, then grandparents, great-grandparents above, and so on. So we call it the family view because it shows the close family of a person. You can see here on the left that the tree view right now shows only 47 people out of 1,505 people that I have in my tree altogether. So at any given point, the view shows a partial view of your tree, assuming you have a reasonably large tree. What else do we see here? We see, of course, that every person that is viewable in the tree is shown in a card. We looked at the main person there and everybody else. Each card shows the name, the dates of years of birth and death if the person is deceased, a picture, and a few other actions that we will talk about. The 3 different colored icons that appear on the side of each person excuse me, are matches. Sorry, matches are an important part of MyHeritage, and it is the main value proposition that we bring, which is not only can you build your tree, but we also match everything in your tree to other trees on MyHeritage. And a green icon here, the one in the middle, show that there are links or matches, or what some other companies call hints, to other trees of other people on MyHeritage. The brown icons are what we call record matches, and those are matches to historical records such as censuses, birth records, newspaper articles, and so on. Immigration records, we have, I think, about 13 billion and counting records on MyHeritage, and also family trees that are not MyHeritage family trees, such as Genie, which is another product of MyHeritage, and Family Search, and other family trees that are outside of MyHeritage. The purple or magenta icons are DNA matches. I took a DNA test, which is another product that MyHeritage offers. And once you do that, MyHeritage gives you DNA matches to other people that took a DNA test that are relative of yours, cousins of yours, that share common DNA with you. Clicking on these icons will bring you to a different section of the site showing you those matches, which we won't go over today. This is a different subject of another presentation. Another thing that you will see here is things like birthday reminders. This is my mother, whose birthday is coming in a few days, so it reminds me that. Also, if there were anniversaries of couples that are coming up, this is a chance to see that and potentially click on that link, which will allow you to send them a greeting for their birthday or anniversary. Of course, since this is a family tree, you can always zoom in and zoom out, those plus and minus icons on the side. The home button allows you to quickly go back to yourself in the tree, and the icon above allows you to open the tree in full screen, getting rid of all the browser menus and so on if you need more space. What else do we see here? These gray mini cards on top of a card tell you that there are additional relatives of this person that are not currently shown in the tree. These are those other people that are not shown here right now. So this is my sister-in-law, and in my tree, I also added her parents, her brothers and sisters, in-laws of hers, and so on, that are currently hidden behind this icon. If you click on that, it will now change the tree where this person is in the middle. And those people that I just mentioned, her parents, her brother, sister-in-law, grandparents, and so on, are now available to be seen here in the tree. And we can see here on the top left that these, what we call breadcrumbs, now show that we're looking at a different person. There is only 13 people in that branch of the tree, and I can quickly click back to the person that I was in before to return to the previous screen. So this is a way to allow me to kind of navigate and explore the tree and get to the right person by getting into more and more branches of the tree. So this is the basic tree, but of course you can click on a person, and then once you do that, a detailed panel appears on the left where you can see more information about this person. This is my late grandmother, and you can see now more information, not just the year and of birth and death, but I can see the exact date, I can see the place of birth and place of death, and there's all these operations, and I can see exactly how many matches, 17, what we call smart matches. These are matches to other trees, and 2 record matches. I see more photos of the person, biography, notes, and if you scroll down, you'll get more facts about this person. The tree allows you, of course, to start editing the information. So if I click on the edit button in the details panel, or also the edit icon on the card itself, the same operation, will open a pop-up window that allows me to edit this information or to add more information that I know about this person, marriage dates, marriage place. If I know the burial place, I can enter it here. Any of the basic information about this person, quick and easy way to edit or add information. As I mentioned, if you scroll down in the details panel, you can now see all the facts about this person, occupation, births of children, and so on as you scroll down. So you don't have to leave the screen in order to see all the information, almost all the information about this person, and quickly edit and add information directly from the tree without leaving and going into another page. Here we look at the birth fact. I can immediately edit it directly from here. Click this and I can edit this fact. I can also add new facts if I did not have them before. So this talks about existing person that you already have in the tree, but of course you would want to add additional people once you start building more and more of your tree. So we can see here when I go up the tree a bit to higher generation that I start seeing these empty cards for adding a father and a mother for people who I still don't have a father and a mother in the tree. So if I click, for example, on William's non-existing father yet, I can just immediately opens this similar pop-up window that we saw before, where I can start adding this person's name. If I know when they were born, when they died, and so on, I can do it from here. And a new person will be added to the tree when I click OK. Of course, you don't have to only add a father and a mother. Sometimes you want to add brothers, sisters, children, wife, husband, and so on. So this will be done by clicking the little plus tab that appears below each card, or similarly, clicking the Add button in the Details panel. This will open this, what we call the spider. It looks a little bit like a spider, right? And around this person, you can choose now which relative do you want to add. So mother, I could have added through this Add Mother card that we saw before, but adding partner, in this case, they already have a partner, so it says another partner, or daughter or son, sister or brother. Let's do, for example, daughter. If you click here, now I can add the daughter of this person in the same way. So we looked at the tree and how to navigate to other branches and add more people. Of course, since there are many people in the tree that are not even visible right now, another way is to start typing their name and jumping directly to that person. So if I start entering characters here in the search, MyHeritage will show you people in your tree that have this part of their name, either in their first name or their last name. And once I select a certain one, it will jump to that portion of the tree where that is the main person. So here we see somebody who is the only relatives in the tree are his wife and 2 daughters. An interesting thing that we see here is, okay, we looked at that it changes the name of the person, breadcrumbs like we saw before. But another interesting point is what we call discoveries. So here, this person, Moshe, does not have a father and a mother in the tree, but using those smart matches that we saw before, and these are links to other family tree, of other people on MyHeritage, we can conclude that if you accept that match has parents of this person and even potentially grandparents and uncles. And discovery is a way to immediately add all these people to your tree as well. So let's click on the discovery. And it'll tell you that here's all the people that you can add to your tree. And if you click add to your tree, a big branch of, in this case, 12 people will be added to your tree around that person that we looked at. Another interesting thing is what we call the relationship. So I'm looking here at a person who's far away from me, and I got to him some way. And it says that my relationship to him is your wife's second cousin's father-in-law's cousin's ex-husband's grandfather. That's a mouthful, and it's kind of not clear exactly what that means, right? So luckily, if you click on the relationship, MyHeritage will open a nice diagram that explains exactly how I am related to this person. So this is an explanation of this very confusing relationship. My wife's mother's grandmother's brother go down to her grandchild, wife, and so on, all the way to this faraway person. So this is a very good description of how two people are related. A few other interesting things that the tree shows us. In this case, what we call pedigree collapse. Notice these X2 icons at the top of these cards. We can see them here. So this couple, Avraham and Chaya, appear twice in the tree. You see, it's the same two people. That's why there's these X2. In one case, they are the parents of Shlomo, and in the other case, they are the grandparents of Hannah. And this happens because actually Shlomo and Moshe, they're both children of the same parents, which means that they're brothers, which means that Hannah is the niece of Shlomo. So that's a person who married his niece, and you will get that situation. Quite often you will see that in family trees. And this is how we indicate that. How do you even build the situation? And we'll see here that in the More menu, there is additional things you can do with this person. Among them is to connect existing people. So this is how you would say, I'm not adding a new wife. I am actually connecting an existing person, in this case, the niece, as also a wife of a person. So the connect and remove connection are the ways to deal with those types of relationships. So we looked at the family tree. Another thing that you can do is to change the number of generations that are shown in the tree. By clicking the generations here, you will have a little slider that allows you to make the tree smaller or bigger by changing the number of generations, and also by checking whether to show cousins or not. Once you have cousins, a lot of cousins, the tree might get very large horizontally by looking at all the cousins and their children. So if you eliminate that, it also makes the tree a bit smaller to view. So let's look at the example here of if I change the number of generations to 1, and you will see it here, you'll see now the tree is more compact. Here's my grandmother. The only people we see in the tree are her parents, husband, brothers and sisters, and children. So only one generation around that person. So if the tree gets a little confusing and hard to navigate, this is a good way to kind of zoom in and look at fewer people in a more manageable way. What else do we have? Some settings that are interesting. By clicking on the gear icon on the top right, this will open a panel, the settings panel, that has quite a lot of options here. In fact, it has also the name preferences and more actions. There's quite a lot of things that you can do here and control the way the tree looks like. Let's focus on a few of them just to kind of get an idea. One is called Show Black Ribbons for Deceased People and Use Solid Card Colors, and then Show Vertical Cards. So the first two, if you are been a few months already on MyHeritage, you probably remember that the tree looked a little different. It was more colorful. It had a pink and blue solid colors. And once we did a change in the design to make it look like we see it here, we also still kept the door open for people who want to use the older design, which we still support. So if you click on use solid colors and also black ribbons for deceased people, you will get a view that looks like this. This is more of the design that we had in the past, and people still, some prefer that. So these are the ribbons, black triangle, diagonal lines, basically indicate all people that are deceased. So it's easier to see that. You don't need to use the solid colors in order to have the diagonal lines. There are two independent settings. The third settings that I showed there is called the vertical cards. And if you select that, all the cards, instead of being horizontal, where the name is to the right of the picture, it is now below, which makes the cards have a different proportion, making them less wide, but more tall. This again allows you to sometimes view the tree better, depending on your preferences. Some software will use more this approach, the other that, but we support both. So to summarize, the family view shows a person in the tree and the family around them. Easy to navigate to more branches of the tree by clicking on this more branches icon. And it's easy to add more people to the tree. There is this add father, add mother, which people use a lot, and also to add additional people, spouses, children, and so on. Let's move to the pedigree view, which is the second view in the section here to the top right. So pedigree view, as its name suggests, has a different layout where we look at a person and only their ancestors. So here is my son again, myself and my wife and grandparents in the next level, great-grandparents, and so on, 6 generations altogether. And this is a classic view that is supported in, throughout the industry. People know what that is and are familiar with it. And many times it's very useful to work there and to view your tree in this way. Again, if you click a person, the same panel appears here on the left. This time, there is the section called immediate family, which also exists in the family view, but it's collapsed by default, which shows you all the first degree relatives of the person. In the previous view, the family view that we saw before, all these people are also shown in the tree because that's the nature of this view. It's a family view. Here, because it's a pedigree view, many of those relatives do not appear in the tree because for any person, it only shows their parents and one child maybe, and a husband or wife. But it doesn't show their siblings, it doesn't show all the children, and if there are multiple spouses, it won't show that. So that's why the immediate family section is a good way to navigate the tree. If I click any person here, we will get the pedigree view of that person. Again, if you scroll down the panel, you'll get the facts and more photos, just like we saw before. And all the operations that you could do from the family view, you can also do from the pedigree view. Here we see that the pedigree view shows that there are additional branches going up, more ancestors. So every time you see this white arrow, it means that you can expand it. If it's dark, it means that you can add more people there, but there are no people that are already in the tree at this point. So let's click on this icon here, and it'll expand inline 2 more generations of parents and grandparents of that person. And again, you can do the same thing here and expand more, and it'll expand even more generations. So this is the way you will kind of go up the tree to see all the ancestors that you are interested in. So to summarize the pedigree view, it shows a person in the tree and only their ancestors. It focuses on the history, the ancestry, the pedigree of a specific individual. It has a design, and here I have a bullet that it will be applied to family view soon, but it's already there, so we don't need that bullet actually. Fan view. This is the third view that we have in the tree, a more recent one. The fan view here, that's the third option. It looks like a fan chart, and in fact, it is a fan chart. The fan view shows the same people that we just saw in the pedigree view. So again, looking at my son here, you will see the person, myself and my wife, his parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, another level, and another level, great-great. So it's the same people, just organized instead in a kind of horizontal triangle of cards. It shows it here as a fan. So it's more compact. It's easier to see the big picture because everything fits in the screen nicely, and visually it has a more appealing way of looking at things. We also use these colors here, going from blues that are the paternal line, father's side, to the greens, which is the mother's side, the oranges is the mother's father's side, and the reds are the mother's side. So this is a color scheme that we started using to show the different paternal branches of your pedigree. You can also change the number of generations. The default is 6, but you can here go up all the way to 10, which shows you a bigger and bigger tree, and also shows you where you have missing information. It's easy to see that you might want to investigate this branch because you don't have enough information there. Again, you can search just like you saw before, the same functionality that we saw in Pedigree View as well, in Family View. All of these functionalities are there all the time in all views. Color mode is basically a way that you can control 2 different ways to look at the tree, the fan chart. One is what we saw before, where you see the names of people and larger cards, or strictly color mode, where you only see just the colors and without the names of all these ancestors, and more focusing on the surnames. Here are the 8 different surnames of the ancestry line of a person. And here you can see exactly where you have people and where you don't have people. If in this case the fan chart is pretty nice, but in some cases, and for some people, you'll see that missing area, let's say of your maternal mother's side, you'll see here that it's empty. And this is where you want to put your investigation. The nice thing about the fan view also, because it's visually interesting, and especially here where you don't show all the names, it's something that is very nice to share with your family, Facebook, on Twitter, and the likes. Just like we saw before, if you click a person, the same details panel appear where you see all the information and you can navigate to other relatives. So to summarize the fan view, it shows the same person as the same people as pedigree view, but visually as a fan chart. It has a text mode and a color mode, and you can share it on social media. The list view. The list view is another way to look at your family tree and work there. And as its name suggests, it's basically a list, a flat list of all the people in your tree. Here we see it organizes by default, sorting it by their relation to you. So yourself at the beginning, children, parents, brothers, spouse, and then on to grandparents and so on. So that's the way we sort them by default. For each person, you see name, dates of birth, of death if the person is dead, and all these icons that we saw before of record matches, smart matches, and DNA matches. If you scroll down to the bottom, it ends, and you can go to the next page. So if you have a very large tree, you can paginate until you get to the people you want, or you can resort or search, which is probably a better way to find people. Clicking on a person again, just like we saw before, opens the left detail panel with all the information about the person, allows you to navigate to other people, edit, add more people, just like we saw before. In all the different views, it's the same. As I mentioned, the default sorting is by relationship, but you can sort by last name, first name, birth date, birthplace, and so on. Here, I'm sorting by birth date, so you can see at the top the people that were born the earliest, 1781, 1789, and so on. So a way to sort your list of people in your tree. If I sort by first name, one of the things that you can find here that I find useful is sometimes there are duplicates in your tree. You added the same person twice, maybe in different places, maybe as siblings, but they're actually the same person. And this is an easy way to find these problems. Filters, we have only one filter really, which is to filter by surname, a letter. If I click here on L, it'll just look like a telephone book, like the old telephone books where you see all the people whose last name or married surname starts with that letter. Search, of course, is more important, where you can start typing a name, let's say David, click enter, and you'll see all the people whose first name is David or last name starts with David. And here is that result. And you can, in fact, control whether you want full name, first name, or both, which is full name. So to summarize on this view, it lists all the people in your tree. You can sort and search and filter, and a good way to systematically go over and find duplicates. Important to mention, all these views are also available if you're working on your phone. If you are, they're all adjusted for mobile phones and easy to work with as well there. Also in the app, if you have our MyHeritage app you can download, you will get those views as well there. So this kind of summarizes the different views that you get to from the My Family Tree section, so which is the main way to work with your tree. But there are others as well that are available here from the Family Tree menu. We'll go over the timeline, which is another way to visualize your tree. We'll look at the consistency checker and PedigreeMap. So let's start with that. The timeline view is actually the most recent addition to the views of the tree. Although it's not available as another view, it's a separate section in the menu. And here is what you will get when you get to the timeline. So this is my tree again, and it shows my pedigree timeline, really. So it's the same people that we saw in the pedigree view. My parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and so on. Only this time, they're just laid out differently on the screen. So in the pedigree view, we saw them as you go to the right, you will see your ancestors. Here, actually, as you go to the left. And the reason is because it's a time travel. It's a timeline chart. So on the left, you'll see older dates. Going to the right, you'll see today's date. So I am here. So all the people who are alive will end up on today's line, which is 22, 21, 22 already. And I am now 58. My mother is still alive, and you see her dates, and you'll see basically as you go back, you'll see older and older ancestors. If you hover over a person, this is my father, you'll see the exact date of birth and date of death, and this is where we position this person's bar in the timeline. So it's proportional to their lifespan. We see here the age at death or age current for a living person. And you also see here a line that connects a person with their child. And you see here the number shows the age of the parent when the child was born. So these lines are the lines that connect between the parent and the children. So you get really your pedigree view going backwards in time. And we use the same color scheme that we saw in the fan chart. So the blues and the greens and the orange and red colors are the different paternal and maternal lines. Interesting here point is that many times you don't have the dates of birth or death or both even. Sometimes you just know their names and that's it. So the timeline has to kind of guesstimate where to start this person in this case, because we don't know the date or year of birth even. So there is some fuzzy logic that tries to position people when we don't have the actual date based on their children's dates and their spouses and parents and so on, and kind of puts them roughly where they probably were. That's, you can see here that it's it ends not on a fixed place, but more kind of fuzzy. Going up here again, just like we saw in the fan chart, you can change the number of generations. And if you go here to 9, you'll see a bigger tree. You can also enter here a name of a different person and see their timeline, just like we saw in all the other views, that you can go and focus on a different person. So let's go to 9 generations or 8 generations, and you can see the tree here is much wider. A lot more people now appear in the tree. Going back in time here to 1790 and beyond. This is an interesting point that I want to show here, is that you see this red dot that appears, and that's because we have a problem. We have a child who was born many years after, according to the tree, his father died. So this obviously indicates a consistency issue. In fact, if you hover over it, it says, hey, we found a consistency issue. This father died 4 years before their child was born. So you might want to fix this. Probably in this case, this age of 14 and the death of the father is wrong. Or something else is wrong. But this kind of is a call to action to go and change that. In fact, just like we saw in the other views, you can edit a person directly from this tree by clicking on, it's actually here. When you hover over a person, you see the 3-dot menu. From there, you'll have an option to edit this person directly, and this is how you can resolve these issues. Some settings, if you click again the gear, there's a few settings, but one of them interesting is that I want to highlight is this show historical period, which explains these diagonal hashed columns here that you see in the backgrounds. These are major historical periods that your family lived through. In this case, this is World War II, this is World War I, and so on. These are my grandfather's parents who both died during World War II in the Holocaust, so they obviously are rightly connected to this major event. So this is the timeline. This is a very nice tool that kind of shows your family a long history. Another tool that we have is the consistency checker. Remember what we saw before, where we highlighted an issue that there exists in the timeline when a person was born 4 years after the father died. So the consistency checker is a tool that does this thing on the entire tree. So if I go to the family tree menu to consistency checker, it now runs all these checks on all of the people in your tree. And it finds many different issues. Here is the one that we saw before, that this great grandfather of mine was born 4 years after his father died. It's that the issue that we saw before. But there's many others. In this case, my tree has 253 consistency issues that I am on purpose not fixing, actually, in order for me to be able to do these presentations that show you the power of the tool. From our experience, pretty much every tree that has a significant number of people, we will find consistency issues. And we give you the direct way to find them and resolve them. In fact, if you import a GEDCOM to MyHeritage, this is the way many people start their tree, by bringing it from somewhere else. The first thing we do after we create a tree on MyHeritage is run a consistency checker and send you an email showing all the issues that we found and pointing you to how to fix them. Clicking on the settings actually shows you the different types of issues that we find, and here is a few of them. For example, we mentioned a person who was born after they died, obviously an error. A child who is older than their parent, obviously an error. Some of them are warnings that are, for example, a person who died after the age of 110, or a person who's alive but was born more than 110 years ago, and you can change these thresholds, and so on. I'll show you a few more things that are less of an issue but still potentially a problem. A person who got married before the age of 15, and so on and so on. So this is a very, very nice way to look at your tree, not so much in a way to work on it, but more in a way of looking at all the issues that you already have in your tree. Another tool that we have that visualizes your family tree is PedigreeMap. I'll just look at it I'll skim through it very quickly just to understand the idea. It basically shows you your family tree on the map. So all the different birth places and death places and marriage places and so on, if we find where they are, if you enter them in your tree and we can locate them on the map, we will allow you to see all the different places. You can filter and sort and search for people in similar ways that we saw in the tree, but now on a map. So here I am actually showing you all my Ukrainian ancestors. We know Ukraine is now in the news, and this is my contribution to my Ukrainian heritage. But same way, I can go to other places and look at who was born there, who was buried there, and so on. Different states and different provinces. We can drill down here a whole other presentation, but just to mention that this is another way to view your tree. And I think this is it. That's my presentation. So we looked at the tree, different ways to view it and edit it and navigate it, and other tools that we have, such as the timeline, the consistency checker, PedigreeMap, and smaller other tools that I haven't mentioned but are there as well. So thank you, and now we'll start with questions.
Very good. Thank you, Uri. A terrific overview of MyHeritage, and I enjoyed learning some new things myself. We've got some really nice comments and questions here in my control panel, and we'll get to those questions in just a minute here. I just wanted to mention our upcoming live webinars. Our next one will be by Daniel Horowitz on the topic of drawing insights from your family photos. So that's one that is a brand new class. And then we've got Uri will be coming back in the end of May for jumpstarting your research with instant discoveries. And then in June, we'll have identifying common ancestors with DNA. So I hope to see you all in these various webinars. If you want to learn more from Uri, just head up to the familytreewebinars.com site and then add a / Uri Gonen. And these are some different topics that he has in the library. There was an entire full-length webinar just on the new family tree and the new relationship diagram, which was very nice. Everything you need to know about genealogical charts and reports, printing charts and books. So go and view those, and you'll learn all kinds of goodies about MyHeritage. And the entire library of MyHeritage specific webinars you can access if you head up to this webinar site and do a / MyHeritage webinars. And then that will show you the upcoming live webinar schedule as well as those classes that are in the library. It looks like there's 79 of those now, including those that we had out at our recent 24-hour genealogy webinar marathon, which so many of you participated in, and that was a lot of fun. We have a couple of door prizes that we'll give away now, and if you're here, you're eligible to win. You just need to be here, and that's it. If I call your name, just watch for an email from me afterwards. We'll first give away a 1-year MyHeritage complete plan, which is everything. Everything that Uri showed here today, plus access to all of the 16.9 billion historical records. I needed to make sure that was still up to date, accurate, and as of yesterday morning, that's where we're at now. So let me go and get my random door prize picker tool, and we will go. Let's see who's going to be our winner. It looks like Deb Andrew is our winner of this prize. So congrats, Deb, and glad that you're here today. And then let's give away a MyHeritage DNA test kit. And you can learn all about that in the webinar library as well, or just head up to myheritage.com/DNA. All right, this will go to Laura Elliott. So Laura, congrats to you, and yeah, glad that you're here today. Okay, let's bring Uri back here and let's go through questions. So Uri, we've got a wide variety of different expertise here in the audience. Many are brand new, many have been here for a few months with MyHeritage, and so we've got questions from all of these spectrums. The first question relates to the Pedigree View, and Sherry specifically is asking, is this a view that you can print what you're seeing there in the Pedigree View? And while you're considering that, Uri, I'm going to bring my own personal browser over. I was looking at the list view and the various sort options here as you were talking. So if you want me to show or display anything here as we go, I'm happy to do that. So Sherry is wondering, can the Pedigree View be printed?
Regarding printing, the way we currently do things is there is the section called print charts and books.
Okay.
And it allows you to print many different charts, among them Pedigree chart. It's not exactly the same as what you would see in the Pedigree View. It's not exactly the same graphics, but it's basically the same information. So Pedigree and also other ones are available in the print charts and books section.
Very good. This gives you a lot more flexibility than if we were just to print that pedigree chart, I suppose, in customizing it and just making it look beautiful. So, Cherry, that was again under Family Tree, and then go down to where it says Print Charts and Books. All right. Tracy's wondering, is there a way to show everyone on the tree at one time?
Again, the print charts and books, one of those charts is called the all-in-one chart, which tries to fit everybody. If you have a very large tree with many branches, it tries to fit all of them. It does not necessarily create a readable view of everybody because it's quite difficult to actually try to uh, create a two-dimensional representation of a very large tree with many branches, but that's the way you would do it. You have to try it and see what comes out.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Deborah is wondering, it sounds like she has her tree in another service. Is there a way for her to transfer that into MyHeritage?
Yes, all services support what's called a GEDCOM format. It's an industry standard way of describing your family tree in a file. So if you go, for example, if you have another service that you're using, it could be a software or a website, look for the export GEDCOM option, where you can take your tree and save it as a file. And then on MyHeritage, as I mentioned, there is an import GEDCOM option, where you basically enter the file name and then wait for the file to upload, and then a tree will be created from the information that is in that file. Another way of doing it, if you're using Family Search, if your tree is there, we have a direct synchronization feature with Family Search, where on Family Search, if you go to familysearch.org/partner/MyHeritage, I think it is, allows you to, right from Family Search, by entering, accepting the policy, the privacy policy, and so on, to directly transfer your tree from Family Search to MyHeritage without the GEDCOM file in between.
Okay, thank you. We just got two questions in here about the same topic of the list view. Both Mary and Cassandra are wondering, is that a list that can be printed or can it be exported?
Yes, it can be printed and exported as an Excel, actually. So in the settings section that we saw here, you know what, maybe if I leave, tell me if you see my my screen now.
Not yet. I can give you the button here. Here you go.
So let's actually show it live.
Good.
So if I go here to list view, like we mentioned, one of the options here in settings is, if I go down, is export. And that actually creates a spreadsheet. And all the information that you see here will be in a spreadsheet, not visually like this, but then you can print it or do anything you want with that spreadsheet.
Great. Thank you. While you're there in the live view, we've got Jane and Maria asking about the pedigree map. Could you just point to us here where you get that?
Yeah, so you actually have to click on the more, and then PedigreeMap appears here with other things that were hidden under the more section.
Good. Thank you. Another question about the sources, and I'm just seeing an option right there for sources. What shows up when we click there?
Okay, so one of the things that you can do when I didn't talk about it when I looked at editing the tree is add source citations to your information, basically explaining how I know certain information about a person. And one of the things that we do when you look at record matches, for example, or smart matches and get information from there, then those source citations will be created automatically unless you opt out to say, I learned this from, for example, here, the 1940 US Census. This page shows me that this is the name of the person and he lived at that time in a certain place in the US. So these are sources. So you can have many, many different source citations about different people, different facts about their life, and we organize them by the sources. For example, and in my case, the 1940 has one citation, but some other sources, like a certain smart match, so I got it from another tree, and it has 18 different citations for 18 different people. Genie, as one of our sources, like might have a few, and so on. So this is basically a way to organize, how do I know certain information about my family tree?
Thank you. Now, right next to sources in the more was backup, and Leonard is asking, what does that do, and where is the backup created?
Yes, backup allows you to save backups of your family tree. And so if something happens, or if you want to go back to a previous version, or if there is some data that you deleted accidentally, there's a way to actually restore it.
Okay. Thanks, Leonard, for asking about that. We have several people, Uri, who are wondering about this. Rosemary says, can others edit your family tree? Could you talk to us about that?
Yes. So when you build a family tree, by default, you will be the only person who can edit and add information to your family tree. And by default, what happens is that all the people who are deceased will be searchable by other people on MyHeritage. So if they go to the research and search names, they might find those people in this family trees section because it's a family tree on MyHeritage. You can change those privacy options if you don't want people in your tree to be searchable. Another thing that you can do is you can also invite other people. This is the invite section. Invite more people that are family members to contribute and also edit and add information to the tree. So in my case, I have quite a lot of family members who also contribute potentially to the family tree. All these people here that I have their email, you basically enter their email, and then they get invited, and then they can contribute. And you want to also connect them to specific people in the family tree, right? So here I have, for example, my wife, and my wife is also invited to the tree, and she can contribute as well because I asked her to. But so if you want, you can be the only contributor, and if you want, you can add other contributors.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hope that answers the question.
Yep, that's wonderful. Talking about privacy, Phyllis is wondering, in her public tree, she's wondering, is it possible to keep living individuals private?
Yes, so all living individuals will be private in the sense that people cannot find those people. They don't see their names.
Okay.
The only thing that they will see if they have some information about a relative who is deceased, so let's say the children, they'll see that there was a child, but we don't know anything about them. No names, no gender even, no birthday, no dates, no photos, nothing. So all the information about living people will be private to people who are not invited to your site. But if you invite them, then you're basically allowing them to see and potentially edit the information. You can also prevent them from editing, but they will be able to see the information.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Let's next go to Chris's question, who says, when I'm looking at at someone else in the tree, how do I easily find the root person?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So what I'm thinking she's saying is, Uri, if you're looking at your great grandparents, you're way out there, way back in time, and you're wondering how do I quickly get back to me?
Yes.
That's how do you do
Yeah.
that?
So this home button always allows you to go quickly back to yourself.
Okay.
You can also click here because I started from my tree and then I jumped to that tree. So I can also click here and go back to myself.
Perfect.
And another way is to go back to family tree and click this link again. That's also a way to restart everything.
Okay. Yeah, perfect answer for a good question. Thank you. We've got just a couple of other questions here. Mary is wondering, she must be seeing the married names on all of the females in her tree, and she's hoping to see the maiden name. Could you show us how to adjust that?
Right. So here is a good example. I'm looking here at my mother, and this is my family name because it's her married surname, but it also shows her maiden name. That's how she was born. And you can adjust the way this is shown here in the settings. And if you go to name preferences, there are 4 different ways to show married and maiden names. And I chose the default, which is married name. So that's my father's surname. And then in parentheses, maiden name, which is what you see here. But you can go and do the opposite. You can so only maiden name if you want, and then just forgo the married name altogether. And sometimes that's useful as well.
Yeah,
So this is how you would do it.
thank you. Let's go to Sharon, who asks when. Oh, I'm looking for a different word here. When a family member that you've invited to your tree, when they're added to your tree, and they add new information to your tree, do you have a chance to first approve what they add or edit, or is it just added because they are a contributor?
It's just added. We don't have a moderation feature.
Okay. Thanks, Sharon, for that question. And then let's ask what Stephen is wondering about. He says, is there a way to add an unrelated person to the tree? In other words, a person that is unlinked and you're not linking them to a specific part of the tree.
Um, we don't have it directly. The only way to add a person is always by adding them as a first degree relative to somebody else. If you really want to do it, the workaround would be to add them as a first degree relative, let's say, and then go here to do more and do remove connection,
Yeah.
and then disconnect them from that. Let's say I can add somebody's father just as a placeholder,
Yeah.
and then go to that father and say disconnect them from their child. And so now you'll have a floating individual, and you won't be able to get to them here from anywhere. The only way to find them is by doing a search and entering their name. So
Okay.
yeah, it's possible, but it's convoluted. It's not something that we really promote. So we never found a need to do that.
Yeah. Okay. They would show up in the list view also, is that right?
Yes, yes, they
Yeah.
will show up in the list and in any search. If you created that and do a search and enter, you'll see one person, card, and nothing else around them.
Yeah.
Possible to do.
Okay. All right. Well, sounds good. Well, Uri, we've gone through all of the questions, and so I'll thank everybody here for asking and participating this way. Uri, before we say goodbye, any final thoughts?
Um, just as you mentioned, everything that I showed here is actually free. So if you want to try it as a basic user with some limitations on the size of the tree and certain features that I haven't talked about here that need subscription, but everything that we looked at here, building your tree, all the different views, including the map and the timeline and so on, are available uh, for any person, even without subscription.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. A good introduction, and yeah, if you're new to MyHeritage, do just what he said. Just go up and create a new tree, play around with it, and see how you like it. I'm sure that you will. Thanks, Uri, for being here
Thank you.
today. And thanks to all of you, wherever and whenever you are around the world. Thanks for sharing part of your day with us. And remember, life is short. Do genealogy first. Bye, everyone. Bye, Uri. Thanks.